Okay, I think it's live. Good evening, ladies. Let me know where you're hailing from. Say hello on the chat. I am on the Gold Coast, actually on the border of New South Wales and Queensland in Australia. So if you're on the other side of the world, it will be evening for you, or yesterday afternoon, Saturday. I'd love to hear where you're from. So I've actually got a couple of things. I'm going to turn off my music. Hello, hello. Welcome again to the Atomic Self-Love Project. We are here tonight to talk about a couple of very, very important things that all of us would have been very curious about at one stage in our life, and perhaps still are very curious about it. It's called purpose. Ladies, if you haven't noticed that we tend to step into a certain age where we question life a little bit deeply, more so than we were younger. And one of those questions that we ask is really purpose. And the common way that we tend to ask the question is, how do I find my purpose? And I think I'm a believer of really knowing how to ask the right questions, because when you have the right questions, you do get the right answers, right? And sometimes it takes a couple of takes to define and hone that question that you want to ask yourself. It was interesting because I'm in this group called Women Helping Women Entrepreneurs in Facebook or something, and someone asked the question of, it wasn't even about business, but their question was, if you were getting married, what would you say to yourself just before your wedding day? And it's interesting because most of the women said something like, don't do it, no way. And so it was just funny because I said to, and my comment was like this, right? I said, hey ladies, you know, it seems that there's not many pro-marriage comments on here. Should we be so blunt? What if she was in love? But personally, if I was getting married, the questions that I would be asking are, you know, I'd be asking myself, is this necessary? Does a piece of paper actually define the essence of who I am? I mean, I've been married once. I'm engaged to be married now again. And, you know, it depends on how you ask the question so that you can get the right answer. And so I love to just redefine questions. And tonight, let's go into, hi Natasha, hi Nikki, hi Helen. Oh, I've actually discovered how to find the comments pretty quickly. I've got Nicole from New Zealand, Nick, Sandy, yes, I'll pull a card out for you later on. Helen from South Australia, how are you? And from Rocky Sue and Leanne Cruikshank. So ladies, yeah, so I would love to go into the affirmation real soon. Let's talk about purpose though, because like I said, we do ask ourselves, how do we find our purpose? But shouldn't we be asking, where do we find our purpose? And the reason for this is because if you look up the definition of purpose, it's very simple. It's like an intention, an aim, or something that you need to achieve. And if you actually ask someone who's under 10 years old, what is your purpose? They just look at you with a blank look and go, huh? What do you mean? What does that even mean? And the reason is because many times once we start asking, how do I find my purpose? It's simply because we have disconnected from it. The fact is, we are born with a purpose, and the purpose of life itself is for us to live it, to grow with it, to evolve with it. And so, for example, when the baby is born, you know, the baby's purpose is to grow, to become healthier so it can get to toddler stage, to just drink the milk and sleep and poop. And when the toddler, the purpose of the toddler is to learn to walk, you notice that when they fall over, they don't actually beat themselves up for it or think that they're a failure. They just get back up because it's just natural for them. It's their purpose. They just be. And so they don't have these, you know, people telling them what to think, how to feel, and stuff like that, because they're too young to absorb those. But when you reach the age of 5, the formative age of 5 until when you're older, you become aware of people's opinions and perspectives and belief systems. You start to absorb these unconsciously. And so you may still be living your purpose. I know as a child, I just loved to play in the open fields. But as we go over life with trials and challenges, and I know, you know, it's not to be taken lightly. We could experience death. We could of a loved one, experience loss. We could experience betrayal, trauma. I know I have a friend, his name's Kwa Nam Tran, and he's an author, and he's written the book From Legless to Legless. Kwa, if you're watching, hello. Kwa, when he was a young man, he's very healthy, you know, buff, and so he was living the life. But Kwa would admit, and I did an interview with him early in 2020 in a conference, where when he was younger, he would live in his heydays, just go out and drinking and partying and all of this. So the purpose is very, very, very self-centered, right? And an accident happened, and Kwa actually woke up in the hospital and his legs were gone. And so I asked him, I said, what was that like? Because you came from this buff, strong, able, you know, full of life young man, and then just because from some accident in a party, you wake up and legs are gone. How does that feel for you? And how do you wake up every day, you know, because he's like the most contagiously happy person I've ever seen. Like, how do you do that? And he says to me, this is what he says to me, Grace, you know, as we have a purpose, and those things, they get taken away from us, whether we like it or not. We can control up to a certain level, but sometimes just life just throws things at us. And when I woke up at that hospital and I saw I had no legs, I thought about it, and I was sad, but I thought about it, and I knew that how I choose to live from this day forward is going to be my future. And he says, do I choose to lose my purpose, to lose myself because of this tragedy? Or do I choose a purpose that's bigger than what happened to me? And so embracing the purpose that you were born with, because it's your personal power. And and where it gets tricky is when we encounter these incidents, you know, like the loss of Kwa's legs, you know, a divorce, for example. I was divorced. Well, I've had a couple of really, you know, really negative relationships before I awakened to myself on a hospital bed in a near-death experience. That was my revolution of my purpose, because before my near-death experience, I was quite unconscious. I was living a life where I was afraid to let go of my toxic relationships, because I thought that I had to have a partner to be able to raise my children. I didn't have self-belief in me. I didn't know at the time how good it was to be a single mom, actually, but I was just in fear all the time. And so what happened is, because I was so extremely anxious, I was on this hospital bed for a normal shoulder surgery. It was just like arthroscopic surgery. I should have been fine after, you know, a few hours, but I cried on the hospital bed. And I said to the doctor, I said, look, can you please make sure I'm okay? Take care of me. I want to be here for my children. I was just so upset, extremely anxious, and I was, you know, constantly fighting with my partner at the time. And the doctor looked at me compassionately and said, you'll be okay. And little did I know that because of my high anxiety, he made an executive decision to give me just a little bit more anesthesia. Just that minute, he decided that. And what happened was my body couldn't take it, and I almost did not wake up. It took a long time for them to get me back. Fortunately, it wasn't my time, right? I was given another chance. But to wake up coughing out, blood spluttering on the floor, it was a mess. To wake up and realize that, OMG, shikes, like I could have not come back. And it was because it was self-inflicted, because I chose to be anxious. I chose that kind of reality. And so I had a really big shake-up, right? And I thought to myself, how am I living my life? Am I actually aligned to the purpose that I was born with? Because I know my purpose isn't to be in a toxic relationship. It couldn't be, because I was so unhappy. Come on. Like, deep inside you that you deserve the dream that you have. When you're saying, where is my purpose? How do I get my purpose? You're asking that question because it's you deserve the joy. And let me just turn that off. That's a phone call from my 15-year-old. Sorry. You deserve the joy. That's why you're asking. And so the real kicker about asking yourself, where is my purpose, is to look for it in the not from anyone else's opinion. And it's not like a thing that you have to go for, like a is the silence that you have. It's the stillness. It speaks volumes. It really, really. Mentor online. His name's Sadhguru. You probably same thing when you're still and